Hello, everyone. My mom really wanted to be here today, but she had a very sore throat. So in spirit, with the people who are here, Teva and Pfizer, she thought it was not the best idea to come to not spread any sickness. And I found out that I was reading this 30 minutes before I came here, but in honor of my grandpa and the name of this award, I thought I wasn't going to back down to any challenge, so here I go. And this is Lisa's words, so it's going to refer to Kenneth as her father, even though he's my grandfather. Hey. My father, Kenneth Bialkin, husband of Anne Bialkin, here tonight. Grandfather of Sammy and Gideon Bialkin, also here tonight. In fact, right here. Passed away just a few months before COVID overtook the world. I do not know, of course, the specifics of how he would have processed the pandemic, other than shared horror over this global blight. But for sure, he would have been made very proud by the tremendous life-saving role his beloved Teva played in the battle against this disease, as well with so many others. I'm not sure what came first, his great friendship with Eli Herverts, chairman and CEO of Teva from 1976 to 2010, and others of the Teva family he called his friends for so many years. His enormous and unwavering commitment to Israel and the Jewish people, as reflected in his tireless leadership of the AIFL over many years of his brilliant and passionate dedication to helping small, smart Israeli companies and their leaders become giants in their fields. Whichever came first, it all came together in Dad's loyalty to the company Teva and its success, not only in Israel, but in the world at large. As most of you here know, my father worked tirelessly on behalf of so many Israeli companies, opening the doors for them to the U.S. markets. It was his fervent belief that the best way to solidify and strengthen the ties between the countries was by building bridges to Israeli industries. His close relationship to the late Eli Herverts, whom he greatly admired as one of the best businessmen he knew, and to Teva was one of his great successes in this regard. As their lawyer for many years, he brought Teva through its first hugely successful IPO and remained a loyal stockholder thereafter. Indeed, he lived to see how Teva's success became a great example of his philosophy of how much of a difference an Israeli company that has made inroads into the U.S. on both the financial and product markets could make such a difference, not just for Israel, but for the world at large, as we have just seen so elegantly described in the video you just saw. The Kenneth J. Bialkin Leadership Award recognizes people and institutions at the forefront of business and politics whose leadership and pioneering spirit have helped promote commercial activity between the United States and Israel. Pfizer and Teva are each well-deserving recipients of this prestigious award. As stated, resources that these companies have invested in their dedication to promotion of healthcare throughout the world are unparalleled. And so while Dad would have been thrilled at this success Teva has seen for so many years, and in particular its life-saving role in the rollout of distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine, he would not, I imagine, have been surprised. For all these reasons, it is with immense pleasure and gratitude that on behalf of my family and the IAFIL, I present the 4th Annual Kenneth J. Bialkin Leadership Award to Kare Schultz, Teva's President and Chief Executive Officer.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming here tonight. Let me congratulate the other honorees. It's very well deserved for each and every one of them. And let me thank AIFL for arranging this fantastic evening and for all the good things they do that we've heard about earlier tonight. I would also like to thank the Bialkin family that I've been sharing the table with for this fantastic award. I'm very, very honored to receive the Kenneth J. Bialkin Award. But I have a confession to make to all of you. I'm not American, I'm not Israeli. I'm not Jewish. But as you just heard, I love America. I love Israel. And I've actually done it longer than AIFL has existed. Because since I was a small kid, I had this fascination of both America and Israel. And I'd like to share with you just 3 small stories that explain this and might still explain the fundamental fascination, attraction that America and Israel has to this very day, which might play an emotional and fundamental role in the friendship between the 2 countries. So, first story, it's about America. So, since I was a kid, I really wanted to go to New York and Washington, D.C. But my parents, they never traveled, so I couldn't really go with them. So when I was a young kid in high school, I decided to get a job and make some money. So I started cleaning every evening in a kindergarten. And in a kindergarten, you really need to clean because it's kind of dirty. So I had this job 5 days a week, and I made money during high school. And when I was 16 years old, I went to my mother and said, "Mom, I would really love to fly to New York and on to Washington, D.C. with a Greyhound because I love to see it." And this was the late 1970s. And she said, "Are you crazy, son? It's super criminal. It's dangerous. You can't go there. You're 16 years old." Okay. So I went to my dad. And I said, "Dad, I'd love to go to New York. I found a cheap airplane I can fly with. And I'll go there, and then I'll go down to Washington, D.C." And he said, "How are you going to pay for that, son?" I said, "Well, I saved the money from my cleaning job at the kindergarten." And then he said, "Okay, if you're old enough to make your own money, you're old enough to spend your own money." So he said, "Okay, you can go." So I went, and it was a fantastic trip. I flew with an old airplane. We had to land in Gander and then Newfoundland and then fly down here because it was a very cheap ticket I got. And I was all over New York. I was in the World Trade Center. That's no longer there. I was in the Empire State Building. It was a fantastic experience for me. Went on to Washington, D.C. with a Greyhound bus and saw that. So, fantastic trip. Really, really nice. Then, not long after, a couple years later, I really wanted to go to Israel because I'm from Denmark, and in Denmark, there's always been a really good relationship with the Jewish community and a strong positive feeling about Israel all my childhood. So a friend of mine went into a kibbutz that was very popular back then. Actually, there were more kibbutz in Israel back then than there is today, but back then it was very popular to go down there. I wasn't going all in like that, but I took a vacation and I traveled again on a cheap ticket alone to Israel, went up north near the Kinneret to the kibbutz, stayed a week there and I don't know, fed some chickens, whatever we did, picked some avocados, and then we went on buses, because back then all transportation, cheap transportation in Israel, was all about going on the buses. So we went on the buses, we went to Jerusalem, I was there for the first time in my life, very fascinated about that. Went down to Eilat, that was really good fun, met a lot of young Israeli people, just like the young people we saw today, had lots of fun. I got a sunburn, of course, the first day in Eilat, because I'm a bit too blonde and light-skinned for that, or I was back then at least. So that was a really great trip. And I loved the people, I loved the place. Later on, about 10 years ago, I get married second time, and I arranged the honeymoon. We get married in Israel, not in Israel, but in Italy. And I'm the arranger, and it's secret where we're going. And I decide that my wife and I, we're going to go to Jerusalem, because I love the place. So she doesn't know. And we go to Jerusalem, we stay in the King David with a view of the old city. We go down to the Western Wall. Of course, we fold a little piece of paper with our wishes. And as you know, see you next year in Jerusalem. And little did we know, 5 years later, I'm called up by some headhunter from Los Angeles, and he tells me, "Wouldn't you like to go and work in Israel for Teva Pharmaceuticals?" That's a tough challenge because the financials are not perfect at that point in time, like you heard from my chairman. But then I take another look and I see all these fantastic products. Teva is making fantastic products for many, many years, supporting more than 200 million patients every single day. And I think this is so difficult to do pharmaceuticals. My very good friend and colleague from Pfizer knows it, it takes 10, 15 years to just do one product. So if you have a lot of products, of course, it's partly because they're generics, but still, it takes a lot of skill to do all these products, 30,000 different products every single day. And I think these people must be very smart. Otherwise, they couldn't do it. It's a shame about the financial situation, but hopefully I can fix that with some hard work. And I would love to work with these people, and I'd love to be in Israel, because I know Israel quite well by then. I've been there many times on business. So I end up saying yes, land in Tel Aviv, start living there. I've been living there now for 5 years. And it was, a rocky start, I would say, because we had to really restructure in order to keep the company afloat. And then all of a sudden came COVID-19. And I can only say that it was a fantastic collaboration between the Israeli state, the Prime Minister's office, the Ministry of Health, the National Security Council, Pfizer, and Teva. And of course, Pfizer provided the vaccine, and the government provided the support, and we provided all the logistics, the practicalities. And this was the first country that did this. So it was an innovation, true innovation, how to do it, how to work with Pfizer on getting the product, how to work with all the clinics, making sure the products got out there, that people came in from the vaccinations, that we didn't waste the vaccines. A big, big logistical and practical effort that worked out well. And Israel was the leader in that whole wave of vaccinations that then spread out worldwide, thanks to the huge efforts by Pfizer to get the vaccines to all corners of the world eventually. Now, this kind of collaboration can only happen if the employees, they can work together. And it really isn't about Albert or me, it's about all the employees of Pfizer, it's about all the employees of Teva who did this together. So they should really have the prize for doing this. They pulled it off against a lot of odds. It was very difficult to work during COVID due to all the restrictions, but they did it. And today, people in Israel working for Teva, people in the US working for Teva, people in Israel working for academic institutions, in US working for academic institutions, they all work on finding new and better medicines, new and better pharmaceuticals that can help people with real needs. And I know we will be successful because we've been successful in the past, and I think the scientific environment in America and in Israel is better than anywhere else in the world. There might be a lot of problems in all countries of the world, also in America, also in Israel, but if it comes to innovation and science, you don't find it better than in Israel and in America. And for that reason, the collaboration will stay strong, the friendships will stay strong, and talking about friendships, we all know it only works if you have person-to-person interaction. And actually, in these COVID times, we also know you cannot build a real friendship on a video screen. You need to meet, which is why it's so nice to meet you all here tonight. And at the end, I'd just like to thank you all very much for being here. Thank you for the award. And I think there's a strong future for American-Israel friendship the next many, many years. Thank you.